Hello, Griffins. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm going to record the rest of the Illinois notes for my Civics kids, so let's jump in and do that. I'll also explain kind of what's going on here. So I've sent you the rest of the year materials. In fact, somebody's already got it done. So good job. Thanks for being expedient with the work. That helps me and helps you because you're done for the year essentially. So here's the remaining materials for Civics this semester. Attached are the notes. I'm going to run through these, so we're good on number 1. Number 2, please complete the attached Illinois Worksheet 1 and Illinois Worksheet 2 using the Handbook of Government. So here are these 2 worksheets. You can see there's page numbers on there, and you're like, well, I don't have a textbook in this class. Where do I go? Well, here's the kind of the online textbook for the Illinois unit. You'd go in here and go to the page number on the actual bottom of the page. Don't use the PDF number seen up here. When I reference page numbers on those, I'm referencing the actual page number in the handbook because I made this with like a physical copy of the book rather than a PDF. So go through, do those 2 worksheets. You could also complete these using the notes. It goes pretty well in order too. So even this first worksheet, question 1, is like one of the very first slides in this thing. Is how many constitutions have we had? We've had 4 constitutions. The current one went into effect in 1970. So we've had to update our constitution as a state routinely. So you can find answers to these questions in the notes as well. There's an optional study guide attached here. You could look at this before you take your Illinois test and you'd probably do just fine. Speaking of the Illinois test, that's item number 4. It's located in Moodle. It's in the Illinois Constitution section, so it'll be in a section all by itself, so not where my normal tests are. It'll be in its own, you'll be in it like a new class, basically, called Illinois Constitution. So go to that one. You'll find the test is already open. You can take that as soon as you'd like to. You must complete these worksheets and take the test by the last day of school, May 18th. My 2 seniors, you've got until Friday. The rest of you guys, you've got until the last calendar day of school, Monday, May 18th. You need to send me these 2 worksheets and go on Moodle and take that test. So not a whole lot. I'm sending it to you all at once because I feel like it's not going to shock you or send you into panic mode. You've got 2 weeks to do what's essentially pretty straightforward and easy work here that shouldn't take you too long. In fact, I just said somebody's already got it all turned in. They're done for the semester. That could be you too. That could be you too soon. So don't force it, don't rush it, and skip out on stuff for your other classes today or tomorrow to try and jam through it all at once. But the quicker you get it in, probably the more relieved you'll be, and you'll start getting the sweet sensation of summer break approaching. So take care of those as quickly as you'd like to. May 18th is the final day I can accept them. These 2 worksheets will be worth a grade. The Illinois test is going to just, again, if you attempt it, you're good. That one will not be scored. So use this handbook. It'll be helpful to get through these 2 worksheets. All right, there's my spiel on end of the year stuff. Let's actually open this in Google Slides, which is what you guys hopefully do too, because then you can see the slides better. I didn't put any speaker notes in this unit, but for the previous stuff I'd been dropping speaker notes that hopefully you were looking at. Kind of on Boy Scouts honor there, so hopefully you're an honorable Boy Scout. You've been doing your due diligence. This unit is all about the Illinois Constitution. Our state government is very similar in structure to the federal government. It's just smaller, and it's located in Springfield rather than Washington, D.C. Here's our state flag. Illinois achieved statehood in 1818. They drafted our first constitution, and turned out, right before the Civil War here, they decided they needed to update it and write a new constitution as the state had grown in population tremendously, as agriculture is great here in Illinois, and more people were rushing into the state to farm. In 1870, we in fact wrote a whole new constitution that was very agricultural based. In 1917, in 1970, big difference there, we drafted and passed our current constitution. So we've had 4 constitutions. That's on that worksheet. Illinois capitals. This is also on that worksheet. In order, the first state capital was Kaskaskia. The second capital was Vandalia. You'd say, well, why'd they switch it? Well, Kaskaskia is on the Mississippi River, experiences flooding from time to time, and also isn't a very centralized location in the state. Vandalia was a little more centralized, made it easier for all of our state representatives to meet up in a time where they didn't have cars. And our modern capital in 1839, it was moved to Springfield. That was a move negotiated by a younger Abraham Lincoln and a group called the Long Nine, I believe, because they were all tall dudes. Here's the state capitol, the current Capitol building. It is in Springfield, Illinois. So our state legislators, you know, the Katie Stewarts of Illinois, they go and they work in this building. Article 1 is where you'd find the Bill of Rights. That's on that worksheet. It lists the rights of the people. You'd find that Illinois' Bill of Rights is very similar to the federal Bill of Rights in Amendments 1 through 10. You're granted things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press. They didn't really need to do this, but they did it anyways. We're already guaranteed these things by the federal government, but the state government decided, let's double down and also guarantee them just to look cool. There's also a couple rights in Illinois' Bill of Rights that aren't in the federal Constitution. In the 70s, environmentalism was a current concern. So yeah, in this Bill of Rights in the 70 Constitution, our current one, you actually have, you know, freedom to access clean water, things like that. That's not in the federal Constitution, but it's guaranteed by Illinois in the Illinois Bill of Rights. You're also guaranteed to not be discriminated against because of your gender. That's in the Illinois Bill of Rights, but isn't really in the federal Bill of Rights specifically. Article 2 describes the powers of the state. It explains the separation of powers, and it divides our government into 3 branches: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. These in structure are very similar to the federal government. The legislative branch is going to contain an Illinois House and an Illinois Senate. My nose is itching. Say that means somebody's talking about you. I think that's the old wives' tale. The Illinois government also features an executive branch. Instead of having a president, it has a governor. The Illinois judicial branch is similar to the federal judicial branch in that there's layers of courts in Illinois. They handle different kinds of cases. Article 3 is about voting rules, who can vote, and how our elections, when they happen, and what that's like. The general election in Illinois to get into the General Assembly of Illinois is the Tuesday after the first Monday in November of even-numbered years. That's the same as the federal election day. So yeah, this year, if you're going to vote on election day, which I believe is November 5th, let's go in the calendar and check it. It is November 3rd. I apologize. So on November 3rd, you can vote on the presidency in a federal election, but you can also vote on some Illinois elections. To vote in Illinois, you need to be a U.S. citizen. So if you've immigrated here, you're going to have to wait until you are granted citizenship. You need to be at least 18 years old, just like the federal rules, and you need to have lived in Illinois for at least 30 days. Those, all 3 of those, I think that's an all of the above question on the Illinois Constitution test. Either that or it's which one is not a requirement, one of those kinds of questions. So you need to be these things to vote in Illinois, and perhaps as you go to vote, you know, the person working the booth will gently caress your hands as seen in this image here. It's kind of odd. Especially nowadays, don't touch me, dude. Removing voting rights occurs in certain situations. Individuals who are serving in prison, as in they're a felon, if they're in prison, they're not eligible to vote while you're serving your prison sentence. So even if you were all 3 of these things, if you're a felon serving time in prison, you can't vote. When you're released, you can vote again, but we don't let prisoners vote. They don't get to mail in their vote. We don't just release them for a day and say, all right, it's November 3rd, you need to go vote, and then come back to the prison when you're done. And we're not going to do that either. Illinois prisons, you know, currently feature one of our former governors, Rod Blagojevich, who I believe is out now. Blago. I think he served his time, and he's He's out. He got in trouble, and he recorded himself talking about committing all the crimes he did. So that's pretty dumb. If you're going to commit a crime, the least you could do is not record yourself talking about it. That's bad evidence against yourself. So he's a complete moron, let's be honest. Wasn't a very good governor, and then did some jail time because he wanted to sell former Senator Barack Obama's Senate seat. When Obama was elected president in 2008, he couldn't be a senator anymore at the same time. He was just going to be the president. So that Senate opening, the governor gets to decide who will fill that Senate seat until the next election. He was trying to sell it to the highest bidder. So he was attempting to solicit bribes. He was just completely abusing his power. And he recorded himself talking about doing all of it. What a dummy. Article 4 features the Illinois legislative branch. Much like the federal government, we have a House in Illinois. We also have a Senate in Illinois. There's different numbers of people in these, though. I think this is a question on the test. In the Illinois House, there's 118 people. In the Senate, there's 59 senators in the Illinois Senate. It's because it's half of 118. That's the situation where they came up with it. So the Senate will always be half the size of the House. So there's 59 senators, and there are twice as many House members in Illinois. The General Assembly is what we call our Congress in Illinois. We couldn't call it Congress. That name's already taken by the federal government. Maybe we could have been cool like Virginia and called it the House of Burgesses of Illinois, but we didn't. We were pretty basic, so we went with General Assembly. To get into the General Assembly, you have to run in a general election. It's not very creative, but it is what it is. Lawmaking power rests in a General Assembly, as in the Illinois Senate and House can make laws. They can debate on the laws, then vote on them. If both the Senate and the House of Illinois pass the law, it goes to the governor. He can then sign it into law or veto it. So again, this is very similar in structure and duties and responsibilities as our federal government. Senators are chosen from 59 districts, and then twice as many are chosen for the House of Representatives in the General Assembly. General elections are what you have to run in to get in the General Assembly. So candidates for the Illinois General Assembly need to run a general election and win. They will then join that assembly. For example, my former state representative, now that I've moved, Katie Stewart, she is the representative if you live over in Edwardsville. So she goes up to the General Assembly because she's been elected in a general election to represent the fine folks of Edwardsville in our General Assembly in our state government. Here's the terms. The Senate, you serve either a 2 or a 4-year term. That rotates because they wanted to line it up with the census, which happens every 10 years. So you'd serve maybe a 4, and then a 2, and that would be an even decade, 10 years. Or you could serve a 2, a 4, and a 4, or alternatively, a 4, then a 2, then a 4, sandwich it. So at some point in your time in the Illinois Senate, you will serve a 2-year term before returning back to 4-year terms. That's to just make sure that every 10 years when we do a census, we can realign the voting districts as needed. As population grows and declines in areas of Illinois. The House is just a 2-year term every time. So nothing weird about that, nothing due to the census, just 2-year term. Every time you run, you're going to need to run again in 2 years if you want to stay in. So yes, Illinois House reps like Katie Stewart are very often focused on their social media and electability, and they're pretty well always on the campaign to try and keep their seat. Requirements: you need to be at least 21 to serve in the General Assembly, either the House or Senate, doesn't matter which one. The requirements are the same. So you got to be 21. You need to be a U.S. citizen. So if you've immigrated here, you're going to have to wait until you're granted citizenship. So apply for it and pay for it once you meet the requirements. And then you can run in the House or Senate. And you need to be a resident of your district for at least 2 years. It'd be weird if I moved up to Chicago, right now, and then here we go later in the year, I run to be a representative in Chicago when I've only lived there for a couple months. That would be kind of unusual. So they want you to have lived in your district for at least 2 years so that you know the people in your town and know what they need and what's best for your area. Vacancies are filled by appointment, so if somebody in the Senate or House died or just quit, they're like, I hate our Illinois state government, I quit. That vacancy would be filled by the governor. They would just appoint someone to serve the rest of the time before the next election. Sessions begin in January, very similar to the federal House and Senate, where they start in January. On the first day of the session, the House elects their speaker. That's just like the federal House. So yes, the Illinois House has a speaker too. In fact, it's been Mike Madigan almost every year since, let's go back to 1983. It's been the same guy for a really long time, with the exception of a brief stint in the 90s. They call him the Velvet Hammer, aka the real governor of Illinois. So he's been the Speaker of the Illinois House for a long time. A lot of people don't like him, and I'll be straight up with you, I don't like him either. So if you heard maybe your parents or other people complaining about Mike Madigan, that guy is the Speaker of the House. He's disliked, even by Democrats. They won't like this guy. He's been around for too long, has too much power. The quorum in the House and Senate is just a simple majority, more than half. That's just like the federal government's quorum rules. Our quorum rules is the same. So if you were in the Senate, you'd need at least half of these 59 guys to be there. If you were in the House of Representatives, you'd need at least half, as in you'd need 60 senators or 60 representatives to be there. Passing laws. Bills may originate, be amended by, or rejected by both houses. Let's fix that. The majority required, so to vote on a bill, just a majority vote does it. So if they want to pass a bill, more than half the senators and House members have to like it. If it's passed by the House and Senate by a simple majority, it will then go to the governor, who can veto it. He has more time to veto it too. He has up to 60 days to decide whether he wants to veto it and send it back or sign it into law. Very similar to the president when he signs a bill that's been passed by the federal Congress or vetoes it back into the House or Senate. If the governor chooses not to sign it and lets it sit on his desk, sorry, there's no pocket veto in this state. It's just automatically going to become a law. No pocket veto. So if he doesn't sign it, tries to hang on to it for longer than 60 days, then it just automatically becomes a law. All those things are on the test. That's why they're underlined. A vetoed bill would return to the House it originated in. So if the bill first started in the Senate, the governor, J.B. Pritzker, would veto it back to the Senate. If it started in the Illinois House, he'd veto it back to the Illinois House. So it goes back to where it started. New laws go into effect on June 1st unless otherwise stated inside the bill. So a lot of turnover in our government happens every June 1st as new laws go into effect. The General Assembly has the right to tax citizens and approve the budget. So yes, we have problems approving our budget because our state financially likes to spend too much money, more than we generate in taxes. So the General Assembly has the right to tax you, and they tax you a whole lot in Illinois compared to other states. Just about every kind of tax, your property taxes, sales tax, income tax, all these taxes are higher than our neighboring states like Kentucky. The taxes are much lower there. But their state doesn't have as many people, so they don't have to spend as much money as we do. Impeachment. Let's see how far along I am. We'll go through about half of them for today. Should be about to there, and then go through the other half in a separate video. Impeachment starts in the House, just like the federal government. The governor's getting impeached. Well, the House has the power to charge them, to impeach them. The trial then happens in the Senate, where they find out if they're guilty or innocent. Check my audio levels. It looks fine. A 2/3 vote is required to remove a governor from office. It's happened several times in Illinois' history. We got a lot of governors that have committed a lot of crimes, unfortunately. Blagojevich isn't the only one. This power is null and void if the governor is indicted, as in if they're charged by the federal government of some crime, which was the case with Rod Blagojevich. So they did, I believe, fully impeach him and find him guilty, but then he was also federally indicted and served time in jail for breaking the law. Article 5 is all about the governor, who heads up our executive branch, and the different people that help him. Much like a president's cabinet, the governor's got his own little group of dudes and dudettes, I suppose, that are going to help him. The governor and the lieutenant governor, in fact, all members of the Illinois executive branch, anyone who has any of these jobs, all serve 4-year terms. The governor and the lieutenant governors run together on a ticket, much like a president and vice president run together on a ticket. So Trump and Pence ran together on a ticket. Well, so did J.B. Pritzker and his lieutenant governor. They ran together on a ticket. Succession. Here's the order. So if the governor's impeached, found guilty, which has happened a couple times, if the governor resigns, also happened a couple times, or if the governor dies, I don't know if that's happened before, the lieutenant governor steps in and serves out the rest of the term, much like a vice president would do if a president died. After that, you don't really need to know these for the test, but these would be the next two people in the line of succession. Government positions. Here's the executive positions in our executive branch. Much like the federal government, who has an attorney general, William Barr, the Illinois government also has our own attorney general. They provide legal assistance to the governor. It's directly how you'll see it on the test. This is a matching section. The governor directs the state government. They're the head of the executive. Just like a president directs the federal government, a governor directs a state's government. A lieutenant governor assists the governor as needed, just like a vice president assists the president in any way they need. The treasurer receives and invests the money. They're more like a bank, whereas a comptroller is more like an auditor, or the IRS. They supervise the spending of the money. They keep track of the spending, but they don't actually get to choose how it's spent. That's the treasurer's job. So the treasurer receives and invests the money, much like a bank would, whereas the comptroller is more like an accountant or an auditor. They just supervise the spending and make sure we know how much money we have at any given point. The Secretary of State, it's been the same guy for a really long time. He signed my license back when I was 16, and he's still kicking and signing licenses today. So the register and registration, like your registration sticker on your license plate, and your driver's license, that stuff's all handled by the Secretary of State, Jesse White. It's been the same guy for a long time. Here's your current governor. He heads the executive branch. It's J.B. Pritzker. Probably seen a lot of his face lately because he gives press conferences every day, which are informative, I will say. You know, he's done it, I'd say, you know, he's a controversial guy. People are saying he's going overboard here. Needs to leave downstate Illinois alone with some of these restrictions, but at the end of the day, I think he does just legit want to keep people alive, so that's at least one redeeming quality of him. He's got a lot of girth, too, so that could be redeeming, I suppose. Powers of the governor. This is the second half of this. I'm gonna wait, and I'll start here next time, so that's as far as we really need to go for this first little video. Again, I pre-recorded this just to make it easy, so hooray, we're halfway through the Illinois notes. Again, go into Classroom and find your rest of the year materials and email me. After you take that test, let me know I've completed all the work for your class, and I will send you a congratulations and say thanks for letting me know, and get your grades in. Great, cool. That's it for today, so have a great rest of your day. Peace out.